She married a man everyone called a failure. Her own uncle disowned her. Her friends abandoned her. The entire market laughed at her wedding. They called her husband Mr. Poverty. They said hunger would end the marriage in 6 months. But what nobody knew, what even SHE didn't know, was that the struggling tailor with worn-out slippers was actually one of the richest fashion designers in Africa. And the day his true identity was revealed, every single person who mocked her fell to their knees in shame. This is not just another love story. This is about a woman who chose character over cash. Who chose heart over houses. Who chose a man everybody despised, and ended up with everything. Before I tell you what happened in that market, before I show you how the mockers wept, you need to understand who this woman was. Her name was Nneka. In Ogbete Market, Enugu, where the noise could make your ears bleed and the heat could melt your soul, there lived a girl whose kindness was dangerous. Dangerous because in a world that worships money, she worshipped humanity. Nneka was 24 years old. Beautiful. Yes. But that wasn't what made traders stop and stare. It was the way she treated people society had thrown away. Every morning at 5 a.m., while her friends were still dreaming about marrying millionaires, Nneka was at her widowed mother's provision store. Mama Yuzo had raised her alone after her father died. 17 years of struggle. 17 years of making something from nothing. But here's what nobody expected. There was this blind beggar woman, Mama Kelechi, who sat at the market entrance. Every trader acted like she was invisible. Some even cursed at her for existing. Not Nneka. Mama, I brought rice and stew today, Nneka would whisper, placing the warm container in those trembling hands. The blind woman would cry every single time. My daughter. God is watching. Your kindness will return to you multiplied. Now, before diving deeper into this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with more powerful stories. Nneka's 3 best friends. They thought she was insane. You're acting like Mother Teresa, Zainab would say, fixing her expensive Brazilian weave. Meanwhile, real men with real money are passing you by. Blessing would laugh that bitter laugh. When we're flying first class to meet our husbands abroad, you'll still be here feeding beggars. Chism was the worst. Some people are addicted to suffering. That's you, Nneka. But Nneka would just smile. That smile that made you wonder if she knew something you didn't. My blessings will come in God's time, she'd say. I'm not in a hurry. They'd roll their eyes so hard you'd think they'd fall out. One evening, Mama Yuzo watched her daughter count the day's earnings. Every few notes, Nneka would separate some for the beggar's food the next day. My daughter, Mama Yuzo said softly. You know what your father used to say before he died? Nneka looked up. He said, a man's pocket can change. But a man's heart, that's forever. Nneka nodded, understanding flooding her eyes. Little did she know, in exactly 3 weeks, a stranger would walk into that market. A stranger with torn slippers and patches on his clothes. A stranger who would test everything she believed about love. A stranger who was hiding a secret worth billions. 3 weeks later, something strange happened at the far corner of the market. A new tailor had arrived. His name was Kelechi. Now, when I say this man looked poor, I mean the kind of poor that made you want to give him your lunch money. Faded Ankara shirt with patches at the elbows. Black trousers that had given up on life. And his slippers. My God, his toes were practically kissing the ground. The market trader started laughing immediately. Another village boy trying his luck. Look at those shoes. Poverty is written on his forehead. Give him 2 months. He'll run back to his village. But Kelechi. He acted like he couldn't hear them. He just quietly arranged his single sewing machine, his measuring tapes, his scissors. There was something about his hands though, the way they moved. Like a surgeon. Like an artist. Then Nneka saw something that stopped her cold. A young hawker girl, maybe 16, collapsed from the afternoon heat. She'd been carrying those heavy bags all day. Nobody helped. They just walked around her like she was trash. Except Kelechi. He rushed over with his only bottle of water. His only bottle. Gave it all to her. Then he sat there, fanning her with a newspaper until she recovered. Nneka's heart did something funny in her chest. She walked over. That was very kind. Not many people here would do that. Their eyes met. And I swear to you, time stopped. He had this face, calm but strong. Like still water that runs deep. She needed help, he said simply. That's all. I'm Nneka, she said, that smile breaking across her face. I sell provisions over there. Kelechi, he replied. I just started tailoring here. Welcome to Ogbete Market. If you ever need anything. He nodded, grateful. As she walked away, something made her turn back. Kelechi was watching her. Not the way men usually watched her. But like he was trying to solve something. Like she was a puzzle he needed to understand. That night, when the market was empty, Kelechi sat alone in his tiny stall. He pulled out a phone. But not just any phone. This thing looked like it cost more than his entire shop. He dialed a number. Yes, I'm settled, he said quietly. No, don't send anything yet. I want to do this properly. He hung up and stared at the stars. Who was this man? For weeks passed. And something beautiful was happening between Nneka and Kelechi. Every morning, she'd notice he hadn't eaten. So she'd bring him food. Not leftovers. Proper food. The kind that said, I see you. Every evening, when the market got dark and dangerous, he'd walk her to the bus stop. Not because she asked. Because he wanted to. They talked about everything. Dreams. Faith. The future they both wanted but couldn't afford. One evening, Kelechi tried to help her carry a heavy bag of rice. He lifted it wrong and almost fell flat on his face. Nneka burst out laughing. Tailor. You want to kill yourself? Leave the bag. He grinned, embarrassed. I was testing the weight. Testing. You almost tested yourself into the hospital. They both laughed until their stomachs hurt. It was the kind of laughter that made you forget you were poor. Then one day, Kelechi did something that made Nneka's world stop. He handed her a small package, wrapped in old newspaper. What's this? She asked. Open it. Inside was a bracelet. Handwoven with beads, with her initials crafted into it. It must have taken him hours. Kelechi. Her voice cracked. You didn't have to. I can't afford gold or silver, he said quietly. But I made this with my own hands. Every bead, I thought of you. Tears rolled down her face. This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me. That night, under a mango tree behind the market, everything changed. Nneka, Kelechi said, his voice shaking. I think I'm falling for you. She looked into his eyes. I fell for you the day you gave that girl your last water. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. I fell for you, he whispered, when I saw you feed that blind woman like she was royalty. Your heart, it shines brighter than any diamond I've ever seen. They kissed. Soft. Real. The kind of kiss that rewrites your destiny. But happiness in Ogbete Market. It never lasts long. 3 days later, her friends found out. Nneka. Zainab screamed when she heard. You're dating the tailor. The one with the rotten slippers. Have you lost your mind? Blessing added. When we said dream big, we didn't mean dream downward. Chisholm was brutal. I can't be seen with you anymore. You're an embarrassment. Dating that nobody. Nneka stood firm. Kelechi is a good man. He has vision. Vision. Zainab laughed so hard she almost choked. Has vision paid his rent? Can vision buy generator? Can vision feed your children? You people look at what he has, Nneka said calmly. I look at what he has. What he has, Chisholm's part, is poor. And now, so are you. The news spread through the market like fire. Fine girl like that, following Tailor. She don't craze. When hunger wire her, she go wake up. But the worst was yet to come. Her uncle Chukwemeka, the one who owned 3 houses, summoned her to his mansion. And what he said next would change everything. Uncle Chukwemeka sat in his air-conditioned parlor like a king on his throne. So it's true, he said coldly. You're dating a common tailor. His name is Kelechi, uncle. I don't care what his name is. He slammed his hand on the table. Do you know what people are saying? That my niece, my blood, is rolling in the gutter with a nobody. Nneka's voice stayed calm. Uncle, he's hardworking and kind. Enough. His face turned purple with rage. I've arranged a proper suitor for you. Maliki. Oil contractor. Drives a Range Rover. Has a house in Lekki. You will meet him next week and forget this Tailor nonsense. I can't do that, uncle. I love Kelechi. The silence that followed was deadly. Then you are no longer my family, he said. When hunger starts eating you, when shame drowns you, don't come crying to me. Nneka left with tears streaming down her face. But Maliki. He wasn't the type to accept rejection. 2 nights later, Kelechi was working late in his shop. The market was empty. Only shadows and silence. Then 3 masked men appeared at his door. You be the tailor way they chase another man's woman, one growled, holding a wooden club. Kelechi stood slowly. No fear in his eyes. I don't want trouble. But I won't run. They laughed. You go run when we break your legs. The first attacker swung his club. What happened next? Nobody expected it. Kelechi moved like water. Dodged left, grabbed the man's arm, twisted sharp. The attacker crashed into the table. The second man lunged forward. Kelechi's foot connected with his chest. The man flew backward like he'd been hit by a truck. The third man took one look at his fallen friends and ran. Kelechi stood there, breathing hard, his secret almost exposed. Who trains in martial arts for 5 years and ends up as a poor tailor? The next morning, he told Nneka everything. Someone sent men to attack me. Her face went white. Maliki. It has to be him. Oh God, Kelechi, I'm so sorry. He held her hands. Listen to me. I will protect you, Nneka. Even if the whole world stands against us. Do you trust me? She looked into his eyes and saw something she'd never seen before. Power. Real power. The kind that didn't need money to prove itself. I trust you, she whispered. But Maliki wasn't done. And what he planned next would push them to the edge. 6 months passed. 6 months of mockery. 6 months of shame. 6 months of being called the stupidest girl in Ogbete Market. But Kelechi. He never wavered. Never complained. Never let her see how much the insults hurt him. One evening, under that same mango tree where they first kissed, he dropped to his knees. Nneka, he said, holding a simple silver ring. I don't have much. This ring isn't expensive. Our wedding won't be grand. But I promise you 3 things. I will love you when the world hates us. I will protect you when danger comes. And one day, Everyone who laughed at us will beg for our forgiveness. Her tears fell like rain. Yes, Kelechi. 1,000 times yes. The wedding was planned for 2 weeks later. Small church. Simple ceremony. Reception in Mama Yuzo's compound. Nneka sewed her own wedding dress with fabric Kelechi bought from his savings. They cooked the food themselves. Mama Yuzo sold some of her wrappers to buy drinks. The morning of the wedding, Nneka woke up with her stomach in knots. Maybe we should have waited, she whispered to her mother. Until we had more money. Until people stopped laughing. Mama Yuzo held her daughter's face. My child, poverty is not a curse. And love doesn't need permission from anyone's bank account. Your father and I started with nothing. But we had each other. That was everything. As Nneka walked to the church, she could hear the whispers. See the dress. Like something from 1950. The whole wedding budget fit inside my wallet. I give this marriage 3 months. Maximum. Her friends, Zainab, Blessing, and Chisholm, sat at the back of the church. Not to celebrate. To mock. Is that her wedding gown? Zainab whispered loudly. Or did she sew curtains together? The food isn't even plenty, Blessing added. Poverty wedding for poverty couple. Chisholm laughed. When hunger starts, when there's no money for house rent, she'll remember we warned her. Nneka heard every single word. Her hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears. For a moment, she froze at the church entrance. But then Kelechi appeared beside her. He took her hand firmly. Look at me, he whispered. Not at them. Look at me. She looked into his eyes. So calm. So sure. Today, you become my wife. Nothing else matters. Let them laugh. Let them mock. One day, and that day is coming, they will understand who we really are. She nodded, wiped her tears, and walked into that church with her head high. During the vows, Kelechi's voice was strong. I promise to love you in poverty and in plenty. I promise to protect you from every storm. And I promise. Everything I am, and everything I will become, belongs to you. Nneka's voice shook with emotion. I choose you today, tomorrow, and forever. Not for what you have, but for who you are. They kissed. Mama Yuzo wept with joy. The few kind neighbors who came clapped warmly. But the mockers, they laughed harder. Someone shouted from the back, Mr. and Mrs. Poverty. May hunger be your wedding gift. The reception was small but filled with love. They danced to old music from a borrowed speaker. They ate jollof rice and fried plantain. Mama Nkechi, the blind beggar, was invited as a special guest. She raised her hands and blessed them. My daughter, you fed me when nobody cared. Today, I speak over your marriage. What you have sown in kindness, you will reap in abundance. The God who sees in secret will reward you in public. That night, as Nneka lay beside her husband in their tiny rented room, she whispered. What if they're right? What if we never escape this poverty? Kelechi pulled her close. Trust me. Our story isn't over. She didn't know he meant it literally. 1 year passed. 365 days of struggle. 365 days of mockery. 365 days of people saying, we told you so. Nneka still worked at her mother's provision store. Kelechi still tailored clothes in his tiny store. They still lived in that single room that leaked when it rained. The market traders never stopped laughing. 1 year don't pass. Hunger never killed them. That tailor still dey patch cloth. No progress. Nneka done old for nothing. Suffering done right for her face. One Tuesday morning, Nneka sat in the shop, fighting back tears. For the first time, doubt crept into her heart. Did I make a mistake? She whispered to herself. That's when it happened. The market heard them before they saw them. Engines. Powerful engines. The kind that made the ground shake. A convoy of black SUVs rode into Ogbete Market. Not one. Not two. 7 luxury vehicles with tinted windows. Security men in black suits jumped out first. Earpieces. Dark glasses. The kind of security that protects presidents. The entire market froze. Jesus. Who be this? No governor. See the motors. Chai. Camera crews followed. Professional journalists with equipment worth millions. Then the door of the lead SUV opened. And Kelechi stepped out. But this was not the Kelechi they knew. This man wore a white agbada that screamed money. Gold embroidery that caught the sunlight like fire. A diamond wristwatch that could buy half the market. Italian shoes that cost more than most people's yearly rent. His posture. Like a king returning to his kingdom. The market erupted. Jesus Christ. That's the tailor. It can't be. Assistants rushed forward carrying massive banners. Collections, Africa's leading fashion empire. CEO, Kelechi Okonkwo. Net worth, $4.7 billion. People started screaming. Collections. The one that dresses presidents. The one with stores in Paris, Milan, Dubai. The one that Beyoncé wore to the Met Gala. That's Collections. Zainab fainted. Blessing's legs gave out. Chisholm covered her mouth, shaking like a leaf. Kelechi walked through the stunned crowd like Moses parting the Red Sea. Security flanked him. Cameras followed. The entire market held its breath. He walked straight to Mama Yuzo's provision store where Nneka stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. He stopped in front of her. Smiled that gentle smile she fell in love with. My love, he said softly. It's time you met the real me. Nneka's voice was barely a whisper. Kelechi, what eye is this? He took her trembling hands. Then he turned to face the crowd. His voice boomed across the market. My name is Kelechi Okonkwo. I am the founder and CEO of Collections, one of the largest fashion empires in the world. 3 years ago, I got tired of fake people who loved only my money. Women who wanted my wealth but not my heart. So I decided to find real love. I disguised myself. Came to this market as a poor tailor. And I found her. He pointed at Nneka. Tears streamed down her face. This woman, his voice cracked with emotion, loved me when I had nothing. Fed me when she thought I was hungry. Defended me when you all mocked me. Married me when her own family abandoned her. She chose me when I wore torn slippers. When I had one sewing machine. When the whole world called me worthless. The crowd was silent. You could hear hearts breaking. Dreams shattering. Regrets forming. So today, Kelechi continued, I want you all to witness something. He dropped to one knee. Pulled out a ring box. Inside was a diamond so massive, so brilliant, that when the sunlight hit it, people had to shield their eyes. Nneka, will you marry me again? This time, the way you deserve. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Yes. Yes, Kelechi. Yes. The market exploded. Women screaming. Men clapping. Children dancing. But in the crowd, 3 friends stood crying. Not tears of joy. Tears of regret. Uncle Chokomika pushed through the crowd, his face pale. Nneka. I didn't know. She looked at him. Then looked away. Mama Nkechi, the blind beggar, raised her hands to heaven. I told you. I said God was watching. I said your kindness would return multiplied. Kelechi stood, pulled Nneka into his arms, and whispered. "Thank you for believing in me when I was nobody." She whispered back. "You were never nobody to me."